All right, Unstoppables. Here we are to demo Compeat, and I'm being joined today by Kasey Dickson. Kasey is a sales engineer with Compeat, and from what I understand, you're going to take us through like an abbreviated demo. You're going to highlight some of the features, but you're going to go kind of deeper on the inventory and accounting, and maybe also the business intelligence. Is that right, Kasey?
That's correct.
All right,
Hello.
I'll let you take it away.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. Well, Compete's goal in general is to offer a fully integrated back office solution that helps your restaurant operators improve your prime cost, reduce duplicate data entry, and give you timely access to data to save your team's time. Compete is built specifically for restaurants by restaurant operators. The vast majority of our staff come from the restaurant industry. So as you speak with our sales reps, our training and implementation team, our customer success teams, and even our product managers, you're talking to folks who've been in your shoes. You'll also find we have a consultative approach with our customers. We don't just sell you software, we're going to share best practices with you along the way. Now, while we offer all of the products you see here on this screen, our core products are intelligence and a fully integrated accounting and inventory platform. Both of those core products depend on one key integration, and that is to the restaurant's point of sale system. We currently integrate with over 75 different POS vendors in order to automatically pull that sales, labor, and product information that the systems require to provide our customers timely access to their data and reduce that manual data entry. So the first product that I'll highlight briefly really is our intelligence module. Now, Compeat Intelligence really provides our customers access to all of their data to make more real-time actionable decisions. Depending on the POS capabilities, we can pull in data as often as every 15 minutes. This data is all available via web browsers like you're looking at here, or Apple and Android apps on mobile devices. Really, just about anything that's rung in through the POS system down to that check level detail is captured and available here in Intelligence. And the most common way that our customers engage with that data is through these dashboards. There are over 200 different dashboard widgets. These widgets can all be configured to look at one location, a group of locations, or everything within a database. You can also set up as many different dashboard widgets or dashboards as you like based on the various departments within your organization. So a store level manager can have a more simplified version that maybe only displays the KPIs that their district managers want them to focus on, while a district manager can have a more comprehensive view, and so on and so forth. You'll see some of our dashboard widgets are kind of more visual or graphical in nature, while some just contain more of that empirical data. Many of our dashboards are drillable, so if you see these binoculars or the various hyperlinks here, you can actually drill down into some of these dashboard widgets to see a more detailed chart behind the scenes. So if I drill here into like weekly net sales, I can now see data points for all of the previous 52 weeks. And from here, I can even hover over a particular week and drill down further. And one feature I really like is our integration to our manager log, which is built into Intelligence. If I click over here on a star, I can see what we call chart notes. Now, store level managers can use chart notes really to indicate outliers. So in this case, it looks like we had rain kind of all day, so we had a slower lunch in Houston. You know, maybe my store was closed due to weather, or maybe it was particularly busy because of a concert or a sporting event in the area. If I'm looking at year over year sales, these chart notes can really help remind me of why those outliers might have occurred. If I kind of toggle back over to one of our dashboards, you'll also see here that we have alerts. Now, I have a dashboard widget for these alerts, but you can also set up in-app alerts. And you can configure these things for like employees who are approaching overtime or employees who need to take a meal break. You can also set up alerts for higher than normal comps or checks that have been open for longer than 2 hours. So these alerts are what really allow store level operators to take action on the data from Intelligence. You can prevent fraud or overtime or meal break penalties before they ever occur, which can be huge. Now, just like dashboard widgets, we have something like 200 different reports that your teams can use to analyze sales or server performance, time and attendance, etc. So you can obviously run these reports as often as you like, but you can also create what we call report presets. So if you have a configurable way that you'd like to review your various reports, you can actually save these and run them over and over again. So in my example, my Flash report that can be configurable, first I can choose my location. So I can pick an individual restaurant or a restaurant group or look at the entire company as a whole. I can always choose my various date ranges. I can pick any date range that I like, or I can look at a particular period or quarter or year. And then in this case, I have the various metrics that I'd like to compare. And you can pick and choose whatever you'd like here. You'll see that there's tons that you can choose from. And so I can set up my metrics and then save this as a report preset so that anybody on my team can run this over and over again.
What are the most popular metrics that you see your guests or your clients using?
Sure. I mean, it kind of varies depending on the concept, right? So obviously net and gross sales are going to be pretty darn important. A lot of folks are going to look at either the number of guests that are coming through and the number of checks, because they're going to want to look at eventually, if I can find it down here, like the guest check average or entree average. But again, those are going to depend a little bit more on concept. Quick service might care more about guests, while something that's more full service is going to care more about checks or entrees.
Can you think of one more obscure piece of data that you can get that is a favorite among your clients that might be unique to Compeat, that the information that you can get?
I mean, I don't know that there's anything that's necessarily super unique, but it's the level of detail that you can see. So comps, promotions, voids, auto gratuities, sales per labor hour, anything that's rung in through the POS can really be captured in any of our reports here. Like the open time and the close time of a particular check, if you care about those things, that can all be viewed here within these reports. And here actually is an example of what my preset report looks like. I can even zoom in a little bit so you can see this a little bit better. So here I'm looking at all of my locations, gross sales, net sales, again, guest check average, check average, the number of entrees, comps, labor hours, overtime and double time hours if you're in, California or one of those pesky labor states, your labor percentage, and sales per labor hour. I can review all of those things right here in one report.
So we're looking at that report right now in a table. Are there any other ways we can export it, maybe as a bar graph or anything like that?
Yeah, so when you're running reports, you can always export them to either Excel or PDF. Those are probably the most common ways. You can also just run the reports in-app, but you can also set up email report batches. So if you have like 5 reports that you as an owner-operator want to review every week, you can actually configure and schedule these reports to be delivered. So even like a non-intelligence user, like a CFO or an investor or somebody like that, can actually get these reports emailed to them regularly without ever having to log into the system. So there's lots of options there. Yeah, of course. Now, really dashboards, in-app alerts, and reports really just scratch the surface of what intelligence provides our customers. There is a full manager log, communication and task management tool. There's like benchmarking and forecasting modules, and there are configurable exports to various third-party vendors. So there's lots and lots going on here with intelligence that our customers can take advantage of. Now, the other half of the power couple is really the fully integrated accounting and inventory back office module. So imagine what your bookkeeper's day would look like if everything your store level operators naturally did, like record cash deposits, receive orders, take inventory counts, all of these things, also created automated accounting transactions behind the scenes. So the daily sales report, or the DSR as we call it for short, is really the first example of that reduced data entry. With the integration with your POS system, we pull in everything your bookkeeper needs for the daily sales journal entry every day automatically. There's no more like remoting into a POS system to run reports if you can remember all your passwords. There's no more managers completing Excel spreadsheets at midnight and making data entry errors. It's really all done for you. So what you see here is all of the sales information, right? Total sales. We can also bring in sales by day part or by revenue center, all of your various comps, your paid outs, your taxes and tenders, your house accounts, everything that's required to calculate a balanced daily sales journal entry. You can even scan in or upload supporting documentation like petty cash receipts or bank deposit slips. And there's a two-step completion process for every accounting transaction for both internal and external audit purposes.
So I just want to make sure I understand a few things. The data that we're getting on this page is being drawn from the POS, so it's automatically being entered. Did I get that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
With the scanning, what's that process of scanning receipts look like? Is that just taking a picture with your phone? Like, how does that go down?
Sure. So you can like either drag and drop from your desktop computer or from like a phone. If you're using a tablet or a phone, it'll just pull up like the Photos app on your phone and you can drag and drop it in here.
Okay. And is it scanning that receipt for the data, or is it going to be basically strictly for record keeping?
It's really just for supporting documentation. So we don't necessarily look at the receipt and try to capture what we think exists here. It's more like, hey, we went to the grocery store and we're proving that we actually spent money on produce and your team didn't buy like a 12-case of beer or something along those lines. So it's good for internal and external audit purposes for supporting documentation. Yeah, of course. So another tremendous time saver is really our ability to integrate with your various food and beverage vendors. So you can import invoices from your vendors, and we're going to bring in the detail down to the line item, or what we call the inventory item. So what you're seeing on this screen is really the first step in that process. First, the system compares the items on your invoice to the items in your inventory database. And if you didn't receive any new items or substitutions, these items are going to come over with a status of an exact match. Now, if you do receive a substitute, you can always find the matching item in your inventory database. So maybe you receive Dole pineapple juice instead of Tropicana this week. Or maybe you receive the little 5.5 ounce cans instead of the 46 ounce jugs. That's not a problem at all. You can always go link it back up to the item that's already in your inventory database. And once you accept these matches, you can go ahead and create these invoices. And you can even map the invoice you're just importing back to an order that you started with and placed to your vendors so that you can compare what you order against what you receive. And here is really the detailed view of everything that we're able to bring over. So we pull in the vendor, the dates, the invoice amounts, the invoice numbers, every individual raw ingredient, everything's automatically coded to the appropriate expense account, quantities, pack sizes, and prices. So now your teams have access to all of this data daily with little effort. You can see what prices of ingredients are fluctuating. We have validations to ensure that transactions are entered into a current period. And then again, you can also upload hard copy attachments for supporting documentation for those audits. Probably one of the next things that your teams are doing regularly is they're taking inventory counts. And so you can take these inventory counts, pen and paper, old school style, if you've got those folks who still like to do that sort of thing. These are also available on mobile devices, so like your phone or a tablet. And you're able to set up various storage locations within your restaurants. And then within each storage location, you can add and organize the individual items in a sheet to shelf manner. So it's as efficient as possible to take your inventory counts. And when you go to take these counts, you can always count by the most common pack size or purchase unit that you might buy from your vendor, and or the inventory unit, or really the smallest unit of measure that you're looking to count by. So if we're looking at something like wine, you can always count 2 cases of wine and then 5 individual bottles. So it makes it really easy for you to do that. We've got calculators here that you can hide or show to kind of maximize screen real estate if you're using a tablet here. And the key here is that when you're finished counting, because of our integration with accounting, we know how much you're paying for your various inventory items, and we can calculate your inventory journal entry for you. There's no more complicated, messy Excel spreadsheets that somebody has to keep updated and wrestle with at the end of every month to get these journal entries calculated for you.
So one thing I'm unclear about that I want to get clarification for is with your provider, your vendor, how does that relationship look with the technology? Are they connected to the software where it's automatically like if there's a change in price, does that happen automatically, or how do we track all the little details?
So first, it kind of depends on the vendor, right? Like we integrate with some of your standard food and beverage vendors, like your broadline vendor, your produce vendor directly. And when we integrate with those vendors directly, we set up a secure FTP site where the vendors can drop files. And as those files are kind of deposited to the secure FTP site, they're imported into Compeat. And so with one of those direct integrations with the vendor, we can do three things. You can import invoices, which is kind of the process that we just showed earlier. You can also take an order that you're creating within Compeat and transmit it directly to a vendor's online ordering portal. Usually that's going to be the case more for your broadline vendors. But you can also import order guides from your various vendors. And so if you want to bid out items across like two different broadline vendors, you can import those order guides as often as they send you them. And our suggested ordering modules kind of, they're going to compare the prices across all of your vendors, and they're going to suggest the vendor that you should order each product from based on who is quoting you the lowest price on those order guides.
So are there any checks and balances to protect yourself from the vendors that aren't integrated with Compeat? So say a new month comes by, maybe the vendors that are not integrated will get highlighted some way, somehow, so you can make sure you're checking to see those prices haven't changed?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can always start with an order and convert an order over to an invoice, first and foremost, to kind of keep your data entry at a minimum. And then you can set up two different alerts. Basically, there can be, well, I guess three different alerts technically. You can set a minimum and a maximum price range for each ingredient. And if you're receiving an invoice and the price falls outside of that allowable variance, you'll get alerted to that. Also, if a price increases or decreases by more than an allowed percentage based on the last time you purchased it, you can get pop-up warnings to all of those things. And again, we compare the price that you ordered versus the price that you received. So if you receive an order guide on a Monday and you decide to purchase whatever, panko breadcrumbs from Cisco because they quoted you the lowest price on the order guide, and then you go to receive those panko breadcrumbs that following Wednesday, and the price on the invoice does not match the price on the original order guide, you're going to be alerted to that right then and there. Because maybe it was cheaper for you to ultimately order panko breadcrumbs from US Foods or a local purveyor or whoever it may be. So we not only help you like track the price fluctuations, but we also allow you to hold your vendors accountable to the prices that they're quoting you directly.
Awesome. All right. Is there anything else you wanted to share with us? Did I cut you?
Well, I was going to show kind of one more thing, because if we kind of consider this, so far we've helped you automate your daily sales journal entry. We've helped you automate your AP invoices. We're calculating and writing your inventory journal entries. So ideally, now your teams have more time to actually analyze their operations, right? So the inventory count variance report is probably the most awesome report to do that. This is really the key actual versus theoretical report that shows the full cost of goods sold calculation for each individual raw ingredient. So on this report, we can see the beginning inventory. What did we count last week or last month? The receiving, what have we purchased over the course of this count period? Did we produce or portion any raw ingredients into prep recipes? Did we transfer product to or from another location? Did we record anything as wasted? And then your theoretical usage kind of brings in a combination of your sales mix and the recipes that are associated with those items that you sell directly to your customers. And so everything up through here calculates to give you your theoretical ending inventory. And then you take your actual inventory and we calculate the variance. And so we can see here when we're starting to review these variances, if we're looking at like pecan pieces, we started with 14 pounds of pecans. Over the course of this week or month, we purchased 10 pounds. We didn't produce anything, we didn't transfer anything, we didn't waste anything. However, our theoretical usage says we should have used like a third of a pound. Now, I would stop right there and say, looks a little bit fishy that I bought 10 pounds when I already had 14 and I only used a third of a pound. So I might stop and ask myself some questions based on the data that I'm finding here, right? Am I over ordering to the point that it's leading to spoilage? Am I recording all my invoices accurately and in the correct period? Are we tracking waste closely enough? Is there overportioning or theft? And then once you find an item with a high variance, you can even mark it as what we call a hot item so that you can count this item far more frequently to track patterns and monitor progress and all that sort of thing.
Cool. So I think that covers everything we want to hit today. Is there anything else that we did not get to or anything we missed that you want to bring to the surface now?
Sure. I mean, we touched on our intelligence module, we touched on our integrated accounting and inventory, but I would just mention if you guys would like to learn any more about the products that we discussed in more detail or about any of the other products in our suite, you can always navigate to our website, Compeat, COMPEAT.com, and click this little box up here to request a demo, and one of our team members will be in touch to discuss your operations and show you more detail about what our products can do for you.
And below this video, I'll be sure to get a link from the folks over at Compeat to they schedule that demo. And please let them know that you heard about Compeat through Restaurant Unstoppable. I guess that's it for today. Thank you so much, Kasey, for taking the time to educate us more about Compeat and how it can impact our businesses. We really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric.